Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here. We are back for Love is Blind episode 2. My name is Deborah, and I'm only on episode 2 only, y'all. Not past it. Please don't spoil it for any of us down in the comments who haven't gone any farther than where we are. And this episode, they were calling it Perfect Husband Butt, and they played a little game to fill in the butt, but I don't like that title. I don't like it one bit, so I'm going to retitle the video like I always do, and I'm calling it Tears of Trauma and Pain. This episode, y'all, come on now. Come on. This episode had so much tears and crying up in it, joy and pain, and you can add mine too, because I was boohooing right alongside of most of these people. I was crying. I had to get my own tissue. But let me tell you, Netflix and Love is Blind, they are bringing a different season. One is, I didn't know if we were going to have a lot of connections, but it looks like we got a lot of connections that are starting to form. I'm very emotional. This season is very, very emotional. They're going places in conversations that I don't think they did before. Some of you guys watched Love is Blind UK with me. And one of the things I complained about in Love is Blind UK is I felt like those people did not ask good questions. They really weren't getting to know the people who are on the other side of the pod. But I want to say, the Love is Blind US version, they're going deep. They are talking a lot about looks. They're talking about ethnicity. They're talking about religion. They're talking about politics. They're talking about all the things that are typically taboo, but yet those are the things that sometimes tear people apart in relationships. So I'm not mad at them, but it is a little different. It is a little different. But first of all, I got to talk about Garrett and Taylor. Taylor Spicy. Come on, girl. I got a root for my STEM majors. Any other STEM majors out there? Some of you have been watching my channel for a long time. Y'all know I'm an engineer by trade. That's what I do. That's my day job. I'm an engineering manager. So a lot of y'all know that I'm a STEM major. So I already had a good feeling about Garrett and Taylor because I like my STEM majors. And I was a little disheartened after last episode because I was thinking Garrett, he was being like a little bit of I don't know what the word is, but he was making me mad when Taylor was talking about her looks, which I said I didn't think she did. But let me tell you something. They made their way back to each other, and I'm happy for it. I'm happy for it. I was glad to see that Garrett could push through those preconceived things, that stuff going on in his head that sometimes science people, nerdy people, engineers can get wrapped up into. They can get wrapped up into the data. They can get wrapped up into their head, but they don't always follow their heart sometimes. And they don't trust their heart. They trust the data. They don't trust their heart. And I was happy to see that Garrett was able to push through that with Taylor. But let me tell you, Taylor is spicy. She is spicy. And I think she felt Garrett pulling away from her. And what she said was, I'm not no shrinking violet. You're not going to be treating me no kind of way and think I'm just going to be happy to be with you. You still going to have to work for this. So I like the little game she played when she was trying to make him, you got to ask me to be your girlfriend and I'll see if I like you. I see you, Taylor. I see you, Taylor. When Garrett was mentioning before that he thought that Taylor was calculated and she's methodical, he was saying it in a negative way. I do believe Taylor is a bit calculated because, she's probably a planner. She's an engineer. She's a planner. But I don't think it has the negative connotation that Garrett was trying to put on it in the beginning. I think Taylor is thoughtful. She thinks about things in advance. Because when she broke out that letter this episode from her grandfather, that her grandfather had written to her grandmother, she thought about that before she came. She made sure she packed that letter to wait for this moment to read it to a guy that she wanted to read it to. Just like she said, she packed that perfume because it had eroticism in it and everything. And she says, I thought about bringing it. I'm a planner. So she does think things out, but she doesn't think things out to be manipulative. I think she plans things so she can have sort of these perfect moments. Just like she's saying she doesn't want kids to 5 to 7 years. Girl, 5 to 7 years. I'm not saying nothing's wrong with it, but here's another situation where she's methodically or calculating or planning things. And the question is going to be, is she able to be spontaneous? And so Garrett, what I like about Garrett is he's not afraid to speak up and say what he wants. And he clearly said, listen, that's too long for me. 5 to 10 years. She said, well, I didn't say 10 years. I said 7. He said, same thing. Same thing. I'm not trying to wait that long before I have kids. I forget how old they are, but I think they're in their early 30s. So he's like, I'm not trying to be no 40-year-old man just having my first kids. Then what's the point? Why am I here now? First of all, Taylor, most men get married when they're ready to have kids. Okay, because if they didn't want to have no kids, they would just stay out in the streets and date. They're getting married because they're ready to start building a family. And most of the time, not all the time, they're not willing to wait 10 years or 7 years. So as much as Taylor might have tried to plan that out, Garrett was like, I ain't with that. And she quickly adopted his point of view and adapted to his point of view and said, well, I'm not scared to compromise. And she's always said that one of the things that has frightened her about marriage was because she felt like she was going to lose her independence and she was going to be able to lose the time she wanted before she wanted to have kids. The one thing about Taylor is she is going to have to give up a little bit of control, because I do believe that Taylor has she does like things to go in a certain kind of way. She does curate things, right? So I think Garrett was right about that. I don't think it's of ill intent. I don't think it's because she's a bad person. I think it's because she probably likes to be able to have some predictability over her life. She doesn't want to be spontaneous. But if she's going to have a little fun in her marriage, she's going to have to learn how to let loose a little bit. Everything's not going to have to be so curated and crafted. She's going to have to learn how to be able to let loose. So it's going to be interesting to see when they're together if Taylor is going to be a little bit too dogmatic, if she's going to be a little bit too stuck in her ways, and how hard is it going to be to able to move her in a different direction. I sure hope so, because let me tell you, two people who can be in their heads, they can become stubborn, they can become dogmatic, they can be, not open to new ideas, they can be only focused on what their facts and figures say, but not take in human behavior and people's feelings into the equation. And that's where things can go wrong. So what I'm hoping for is that as they move along in this relationship, that they talk more and speak more to their heart. Like that letter Taylor wrote. She wrote a letter. She didn't speak from her heart. She spoke from her heart because she wrote it down and she said it. But she wasn't comfortable with on the fly speaking things from her heart. That tells me she's got a little work to do. She goes inward. It's okay to go inward and write it down and read the speech. That's okay. I think that's really good. But that also told me that she's not as comfortable speaking on the fly, being spontaneous, letting her heart just overwhelm her. And but they were crying. She was crying. Garrett was sweet. He brought her some sweet sunflowers. She brought him this avocado plant, and she had a story behind the avocado plant. And between the two, I'm going to say that Garrett actually is going to probably have to maybe lead Taylor a bit more in her emotions. Might have to lead her a bit more. I got on Garrett last week because I felt like he judged her too much for when she was talking about like her ethnicity or trying to give hints. I felt she shouldn't do that. And I didn't like the way that Garrett judged her for it. But it sounds like, of course, Garrett has talked to her even more than I have. I think Garrett picked up on, like he said, the curatedness of it. But I think where he went wrong was he looked at it in this negative light and that she's calculating and what else is she hiding. I don't pick up that from her. I do believe she's curated. I do believe she gives a lot of thought to things she's doing, but I don't think that she's doing it in a way that's meant that she's trying to manipulate him. So in that respect, I like it. I really like them as a couple. I think they're going to do well. I mean, Taylor is so tall and Garrett is tall, so there's not going to be any question of height. And even Taylor said, I'm not going to care if you're short or not. And Garrett was like that. Well, that'll be interesting if that's the case, because he's not used to being shorter than anyone. I think they're going to look good together. I'm feeling good about these two. And I'm going to root for my STEM majors. Where are my STEM majors at? We got to root for the STEM majors, that they find their way to their hearts and don't get stuck in their heads. And so I'm absolutely rooting for them. But when I was talking about manipulation, and I'm going to do the polar opposite, because let me tell you who is very, very manipulative. It's Britney. Britney is so doggone manipulative. Let me tell you, she must be reading one of those books about how to snag a man in 10 days, because Britney's doing everything you need to do to draw a man in, but none of it is genuine. You know, we know Britney was honest in what she said, was that she wanted a man to provide for her. She's used to a man paying all her bills. She just definitely doesn't want 50-50. She doesn't really want to do too much of that. She wants to be the trophy wife, even though she's smart. But let me tell you something. She's smart, but she's using her smarts in manipulative ways. This is the polar opposite of what Taylor's doing. Britney's manipulative. And what she's doing is, she's done a few tricks, y'all. First was, she leads with this voice that she has, which is soft and demure, and which she knows that a lot of men are going to be attracted to that. She's crafted that voice over the years. I'm telling you, all this has been intentional with Britney. Some people may be mad at me for saying it, but it's all been very intentional. Then what she does is she leads with trying to show that she likes to do community service. When she says, I like to pick up trash on the beach. Okay, that's the community service. She's trying to be the pageant woman. Oh, I'm here to make the world a better place. But then she also wants to be congenial and soft. And she wants the man to provide all these things for her. And none of these things are wrong. None of these things are wrong. But let me tell you where I really start to feel the manipulation of Britney was when she started crying over that story of when she was talking to Leo. What she was trying to do to Leo is to make herself seem like she's vulnerable and she's sad, so Leo would start to feel this protective nature over her. When you think about this story that Britney was crying over, it wasn't even a story worth crying over. But she took that opportunity to create these tears so she could look vulnerable. She cried over the fact that when she went back to the pods, she let Leo's name slip out that he was her number one. It was no coincidence, and it wasn't by accident. She did it on purpose. Like I said, manipulation. She knew that there was another lady in the house that liked Leo. Maybe she didn't know it was Hannah. I don't know. But she knew it. And she says, oh, it was an accident. So then when she gets back to Leo, she goes, oh, Leo, I'm so sorry. I let it slip. It was an accident. And then what she proceeded to do was she proceeded to cry. Well, why are you crying when the person you might have hurt, as you say, is either going to be Hannah or Leo? Why are you crying? Because it was in this moment that I realized what Britney was doing was, let me look vulnerable. Even though I was the one that slipped up, let me look vulnerable. Let me look sad so he could feel a protective nature over me, and he will want to protect me. He will see my vulnerability. It's manipulative the way Britney is doing it. But what she's doing is something which is actually correct. And that is, men do need to feel like they're here to protect a woman, which means when women are always showing strength, it's hard for men to feel like they need to protect them. I often say this to women who say, I never cry. Well, you need to learn how to start crying. You need to learn how to let it go. We're going to get to Ashley later on with Taylor, and she says she's not a crier. Women need to learn how to not be a person who cries all the time and cries wolf like Britney is doing, but they need to learn how to cry more, because it is in those tears, it is in when you are showing that pain that men will want to feel protective over you and nurture you. A lot of women always say they don't feel protected by men, but sometimes those women aren't showing enough vulnerability in their life where they need the protection. You have to do both. Men don't want to protect strong women warriors. Women warriors, strong men warriors. Men don't feel the need to protect them. Men feel the need to protect women who are showing vulnerability. And vulnerability is not the same as weakness. But what Britney knows is, because like Britney said from the very beginning, she can make any man fall in love with her because she knows what strings to pull, what buttons to push. And what she did with Leo this episode was she pushed the button of vulnerability. Let me figure out a reason to cry in front of this man so he will feel protective over me. And she was trying to draw him in and draw him away from Hannah. But then what she doesn't realize about Leo is Leo got his issues. Leo has issues. We know who Leo is. And Leo is over here telling her, well, I'm going to let you know something. You weren't my number one, but now you are one of my number ones. And did you see Britney? She was like, that's not how this was supposed to work out. My manipulation plan was not supposed to be make me neck and neck with a woman. It was supposed to put me in the front. But Leo, I think he's saying that ooh, you seem like that type of woman that's very smart, but people don't know how smart you are. They think you're like a dumb blonde. He don't know she's blonde, but a dumb blonde. But really what you are is really smart. Know what she really is, Leo, is she's manipulative. So there is a level of smartness and quickness to that, but she uses her power for the wrong. Like he said, that's your superpower. Her superpower is being able to manipulate people. But right now, her superpower is going wrong because Leo already knows she's a gold digger. He knows she's a gold digger, and I don't think Leo's going to want to share his money with Britney. I really don't. We'll have to see how that turns out. My predictions could be wrong. And then we have Hannah over here, the other part of the foursome. It's not a threesome, it's a foursome. Hannah and Nick. Hannah backtracking on Nick D once she realized that Leo was also entangled with Britney. Hannah's over here trying to play her cards right, so she just gets chosen. So now she's back over here in Nick D's lap saying, I'm sorry, baby, I made a mistake. Well, what's going to happen when someone tells Nick D that, hey, Nick D, the only reason Hannah can't run it back to you is because she realized that she had competition with Leo, with Britney. How's that going to make Nick D feel? And I'm going to tell you right now, Nick D is really starting to show now who he really is. Underneath all that bravado, underneath all that talk he likes to do, talking fake confidence, like I said in my last episode, fake confidence. Now he's sitting over here talking about he just want to be chosen too. Nick D just want to make it to the next part. He really wants Hannah to choose him and be with him. And I'm going to tell you, on the outside world, Nick D is getting turned down a lot because Nick D is short. And a lot of women don't want to be with short men. So he's come up with this sort of bravado and tough guy act and like he's so full of confidence. And now all of a sudden, Hannah, who's also come out here trying to talk like she's the next supermodel of the world. Now you got two average people sitting in a room trying to tell each other, don't worry about what I said before when I was talking about how good I look, because I'm really average and now I don't want you to be disappointed between when you actually see me on the outside. Their whole conversation is about each other being disappointed because they done hyped each other up about their looks, how good looking they are. Nick D talking about he's a football player and he's short and scrawny. And here we got Hannah over here talking about she's a cheerleader. And we know she on the bottom of the pyramid, the cheerleader pyramid. She's on the bottom because she's tall and she's got enough mass to her that she is not on the top of the pyramid, but she was sending the wrong message. These two, their relationship is built on lies from the very beginning. Built on lies. I'm telling you, stuff that's built on lies, it ain't gonna last. It is not gonna last. Another little love story that's forming that I don't think is gonna last is this one between Steven and Monica. I don't think it's gonna last. Steven said he had a whole daddy walking around. Here they go getting into politics. Trump supporter, a staunch Republican. And he's saying that, it was kind of the way the family was, but he voted for Trump, then the second because he didn't like Hillary, and then afterwards he voted for Biden. And you can see Monica was really fishing. She really wanted to know what was going on. She dug deep for it and she got her answer. And I think she became a little bit concerned. Is a girl like her who is of mixed ethnicity. I think she's Honduran and she's African American. She said she got a little Cherokee Indian in her too. Is she going to be accepted by the man, Steven? And it sounded like Steven said, yeah, I can accept you because I just found out that my whole daddy thought he was mixed with Italian. That's where he was getting his little olive skin from. But come to find out, his olive skin didn't come from no Italian side. He walking around 3/5 black. Woo, woo. He walking around 3/5 black. So here we got this man who thought he was Italian, but he's really 3/5 black. And he married a German woman. And no, did I get that wrong? No, did I get that wrong? No, Steven said he's white, but his dad's mom is German. So his dad's mom is German. And he said on his dad's side, he also thought he was mixed with Italian, but it comes to find out he's black or 3/5 black. So his dad's mom is German, but he also has 3/5 black. So I might have got the whole little Ancestry.com mixed up, but whatever the case is Stephen over here talking about, I got a little black in me too. A little bit of black in me too. And Monica said she was happy to hear that. She didn't say it, but I could tell she was happy to hear that. But then he called her a mutt. I was like, don't nobody per one. I don't know. That's kind of derogatory. But it's derogatory to call someone a mutt. It is. Now, someone could call themselves a mutt. That's fine if they want to use that term to describe themselves. But I would never meet a person who has mixed ethnicity and then use the word of them being a mutt. So Stephen might have said he's turned things around and he's not necessarily following the ways of his father, but he was born in some environments. And even if Stephen and Monica get along, how will Monica fit in Stephen's family? How will she fit in that family? I don't know if there's any lingering stuff in that family surrounding all this. It's complicated. It's very complicated. When you get married, you're not just marrying the man, you're also marrying his family. And I think she's going to have to think about that, because it sounds like Stephen he may be evolving to something, but in this experiment where love is blind, there's some risk there. Now, if they were out in the real world, Monica would have the chance to explore that family side of Stephen to see if it's okay. But in Love is Blind, you don't get the chance to explore the family. All you get to do is hear about it through his eyes. And I'm telling you, what he has said gives me pause for concern. And he started telling another story about that he's been cheated on. And then he was saying, and technically he is a cheater because he cheated by flirting with a woman in the DMs. And she also said that she's had a lot of cheating going on in her life. And then all of a sudden she started making him feel good about his cheating. Said, well, don't worry about it. It's like, girl, why are you pumping him up after he just admitted to that he cheated? He emotionally cheated with another woman. I don't know. I'm not really feeling this couple, y'all, for so many different reasons. I think Monica's trying to have a positive outlook, a positive mindset. So I don't know. I just don't see it long term. I don't know if they're going to go closer. I don't know if they're going to propose to each other. I don't know any of that. But long term, I see some things missing between these two that I don't know. It ain't sitting right with me. And another couple that kind of did a little flip on me when we started talking about this whole race, religion, politics was Marissa and Bowden. So Marissa came out. We got to see Marissa with two people, Bowden and also Ramses. I don't even know what his name is, Ramses. So when she was talking to Bowden, and Bowden was the guy who was from Ukraine. Remember, he was from Ukraine. He was born in Ukraine. He moved to the U.S. His father passed, and then he was raised by a Filipino dad. And he joined the Army, the U.S. Army. He fought in Korea as a Marine. Thank you for your service. And then after that, when the Ukrainian war broke out, he then went back to Ukraine to fight for the Ukrainian war. And then after that, he told this story about how he was in Kuwait and he ran up on a camel and everybody was telling him, don't get in front of no camel because camels are mean. Camels are mean. I've ridden camels before and they really got bad attitude. I'll never, ever do it again. I like to try things once, but I'm going to tell you what, I will never ride a camel again. They got bad attitudes. They tried to tell Bowden this, and Bowden didn't listen. He ran up to a wild camel, it sounds like. That camel started hissing him and almost killed him, which tells me a Bowden does not listen. He likes to run to danger. So maybe he's a danger seeker. He joined the army to serve, which is great. Then he ran. He said, I'm going to go to Ukraine. I'm going to do it. He says this of his heart, and then he went up and he confronted this camel as well. And Marissa's used to dating these military guys because, lo and behold, we find out that she's from the military. Thank you, Marissa, too, for your service. And now Marissa's in law school. And did y'all pick up the difference between the way Marissa talked when she was with Bowden versus when she was with Ramses? Girl, Marissa, your little dialect switched up. I know we know how to code switch. I know all of us people of color know how to code switch. We know how to change up our dialogue. And I mean, the code switching that Marissa did when she talked to Ramses was like day and night. I was like, girl, where did this dialect come from? But Marissa says she's used to the military. She's used to dating military men. More than likely, she's also dated white men, so that's not a problem for her. But then when Ramses came in, he's obviously of some Latin descent. I don't know where he's from, but he speaks Spanish fluently. And so now she's dealing with a whole other thing over here. He was kind of talking about the fact that he was married before, y'all. So he was married before. He said he got married to a really religious person, a really religious woman. And as he started to move away from Christianity, they both start going apart themselves. So they were married